Alright, I'm telling it to go live. Telling Facebook to go live. We should have just about everything we need at this point. Alright, so we are live. Let's do a quick sound test. I'm going to pull the video up here, make sure I can actually hear you this time. Hopefully everyone who is going to start trickling back in will hear you as well.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Can everybody else hear me though?
That is the question.
$1,000,000 question.
Yep. Why is Facebook not going live? It says I'm live. Usually Facebook would have already gone live. Boy, I'm surprised Producer G is invaluable to our setup, man. Alright. Okay, on YouTube they can hear us both, so we can get rolling. I'm going to keep tweaking these settings to get us going on Facebook, but it can keep going on the same stream. So we are good. Alright. Welcome back. Thanks, guys, for sticking with us as we continue to kind of sort through these settings. At least you can hear us, you can see us, and we can roll now. So, James, you had some topics on deck you wanted us to go over today. What's the first one that you wanted to tackle?
Well, let's see here. I think David Irving is the big topic right now, if you really think about it, because everybody's kind of worried about what's going on with this guy. It's like every day it's something with him. I don't kind of get it, but it's just kind of I don't he came out on Instagram saying he doesn't really it's the media driven, it's the media messing up, it's the media this, which in essence it is. Media does report things in Dallas. They do overstretch things with the media, but at the end of the day, I mean, I seen the video. I mean, just like when they were showing video of Zeke last year and they were saying, oh, he ain't out of shape. Yeah, he was out of shape. He did have a little bit of a belly. You know what I mean? Yeah. And now when you looked at David Irving, it did look like he had a belly. Didn't look like he was in shape. He said he's going through things. He says he's, having issues. Jane Slater's talking about there's other people trying to sit down with him and figure things out. So it's just, I don't know. It's just, I'm just kind of frustrated because he's like a mainstay on our defense. And it's like, I got kids, and I know when a breakup goes on, I know you are mentally stressed and you probably don't concentrate as hard as you do. But in a situation like this, you have to make your money right now, Sure. So as much as frustration you're doing, you still got to get your money in. And it's kind of like everybody on the team kind of like this gives him a pass because he's so big and he's so good. They're kind of like, that's just David. But it can't just be David. It's got to be David stepping up and being the leader up in that building. This is 3 straight years, and it's the inconsistency. They've been saying that from him from day one. He's inconsistent. Yeah. So it's year 3, and it's still saying the same thing about him. He's inconsistent. That's just a frustrating thing to me because you see other players on the team that's getting it.
Yeah.
You see other players like a Jalen Smith. He's a leader. You see there's certain leaders, and they get it. Because they know it's almost like, to me, it's an excuse. Yeah. Because why are they doing it and you can't? Ezekiel Elliott had that crazy thing going on. He's stepping up, and after that's going on, and he's being a leader. So why aren't you?
Right, exactly. And, I know some people are wanting us to kind of tap the brakes on it, but there is something weird to it. Something something's off about it, whether it's coming from the David Irving side or it's coming from, you know, the coaching staff. As I mentioned earlier on our previous very brief stream moments earlier, there's a lot of weird stuff to it for me, because you have Jason Garrett, the guy's coach. It kind of sounds like he's throwing him under the bus, essentially, when he keeps talking about how not only has he been inconsistent in appearances the last week, but they've had a hard time getting him in over the last month. Now, if you're David Irving and that's tied to something like custody hearings for your young daughter, totally valid. I totally understand that. I absolutely put family first in that situation. But if you're David Irving, you know, you mentioned him lashing out on Instagram. Well, okay, if it is that reason, then why not say that? Why just say, I wish they would report the real reason and try and leave it at that? It feels like you're just kind of lashing out. You're not really backing up or supporting your case. If you want the people to know, then let them know. That's my feeling on it.
I mean, like I said, I agree. I just feel like it's an excuse. We're grown adults, and I don't think anybody should just sit there and pamper him and give him the excuse, because, like I said, we all have issues. We all have problems. This isn't the first person that's had custody battle problems in their life, or a sports athlete has custody battle problems. I know athletes that have had these problems and rised above it. I know athletes that had this going on and you never knew it was going on, because they put it past them and they focused on what they need to focus on, because what they need to do. And to me, when you have these type of situations going on, I personally would get more involved in the football aspect. I would get more involved in working out and training with my guys.
Yeah.
That's what I would be doing, because you want that camaraderie of the team. You want those guys to be that because they're going to give you your strength. You're with those guys almost half the year. You're with those guys a lot. So you would want to be around those guys to keep your mind off that stuff, right? Yeah. That's what I would do. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go work out, kick it with my boys, and just concentrate on football and make this work. And to me, it just, like I said, with a David Irving, I just feel like it's just a big excuse. And I'm not going to give him that excuse. We're all grown adults. We all go through these type of things. It's nothing that's never been seen before. It's year 3. You're in the program. It's year 3. You're supposed to be a leader. It's year 3. You're on a 1-year deal for you to get mad money. And you just have to be that guy that the defense looks upon as a leader and somebody that we can depend on. And right now, you're still not that guy we can depend on. And that's very disconcerting.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think the video is lagging a little bit here, so I'm going to throw up the thumbnail for us, and we'll just go kind of pure podcast here. Also, we're just going to roll on, I think, YouTube for tonight, because the setting I had to make to fix Facebook would require restarting the stream, and we already had one start-stop. So we're just going to roll as is, especially given the late hour. I know, especially for you, James, being an hour ahead of us in the Central Time Zone. So we'll roll with it. Hit the site, share it. I'll upload it after the fact on, on Facebook and tag you guys. So we'll get it shared that way. But yeah. So we should be rolling with just the graphic now, Larfwell. So I 100% agree on that for David Irving. This is a huge year for him, and his teammates are counting on him. He can't be. He's got to find a way to work through it. And if his coaching staff's throwing him under the bus, I don't know if that's like just because they're frustrated with it and they don't even care that he has a valid reason, or if it's like some weird twisted sense of like, okay, well.
But how, to me, it's like, how are we throwing him? How's the coaching staff throwing him under the bus when he's doing this to himself?
Well, we got to know the reasoning for why he's not off the field, or why he's not on the field, why he's absent, right? David Irving suggests that there's a real valid reason for it. And I mean, my thing is, like, I feel like it's still an excuse. What valid reason is keeping you off from being in shape? Yeah, to his...
You get what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Okay, maybe you don't come to OTAs all the time because you got stuff going on, and I get that. I can get that you're not attending OTAs. But if you're not in full shape, then what's the excuse for that? You don't have to be at OTAs.
For shape,
but you still have to be in shape.
Yep. For shape, there's absolutely no excuse.
So people see you out of shape and you're sometime coming to OTAs. Well, I think people are going to do 1 + 1 = 2 and say you're not working hard. And this is not the first time it's going on with you. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's just what frustrates me about players or in general, not just players, but just own up to it. Like, you're not just training hard right now. You're just not.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We'll have to see what more comes out of this, but regardless, it's a continuation of his drama-filled summer. And
his drama-filled career with Dallas. It's been nothing filled with drama since he's been here.
True. And he's going to have to get past that because his career with Dallas is probably looking, barring a complete reversal of fortune here, his career in Dallas looks like it's this year, and we don't know necessarily what next year looks like, but it's probably elsewhere. And if he's going to go try and get that money, he's got to do it right now. Like, he's got to be there. He's got to show out everything. This off-the-field stuff's just going to distract from other teams and their interest. The fact that no one snatched him up for a second-round tender before the draft shocked me.
So that's what I'm saying. Nobody put anything in there for him because, as I said before, he is just inconsistent. And if you really look at the league now, it's a lot less tolerable.
Yeah.
It's a lot less tolerable than it was in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. These teams are a lot less tolerable. So you don't get a long as leash as you used to before unless you're a superstar. Mm-hmm. That's when you get that long leash. But if you're not, and even those superstars get cut or are getting cut now. So if you're not like kind of that guy, the team are like, we can draft somebody to replace you. I mean, it's like a business. It's just like if me and you are employed at the job, DDP, and I'm not bringing it. Well, guess what? They're going to be putting in, there's always people applying, and when they find that one person, like, I think he's better than you. So guess what? We're just going to go ahead and replace you.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's how it happens.
And, they're starting to find depth along the defensive line. We don't know exactly yet what they have, but we're better if we have him and he's focused and wrecking shop. But if not, they might have some guys that at least don't have the headache with it. So we'll see what comes of that. But transitioning now on to another topic for us. We had the weirdness come out earlier this afternoon of Terrell Owens and his apparent decision to sit out his Hall of Fame induction. James, what are your thoughts on that, man?
I posted on my page. That dude is just, it's kind of like I don't have no words for this guy any longer. And once again, I don't judge anybody, but to me, you're just a drama king, drama queen, whatever you want to call it. That's what you just are. Like, you cried all freaking long. How many days? Oh, I deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. I deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. Then when they finally open the door and let you in, I'm not going.
Yeah.
I mean, how old are you? Like, how old are you? You're an attention seeker. Like, my thing is, like, what really happened to you so young in your life that you need to be still an attention seeker? Like, you have to do it in your life. Like, what frustrates me is, like, there's plenty other people besides Terrell Owens that had to wait longer than him, that had worthy numbers, and they weren't saying, oh, because you made me wait for 10 years, I'm going to boycott. What? Ain't nobody did it. Like, who are you for you to boycott a privilege? You don't have to be in the Hall of Fame. They didn't have to vote you in. You didn't have to be in there. That is a privilege for that to happen to you. And then when you get that privilege, you sit there and say, oh, I'm not going. But I know why I think I know why the real reason why you're not going. You know why? You know why, DDP? Because what team are you going to say speak for you? Nobody's going to want to speak for you.
Yeah, no one really wants to claim you.
Nobody wants to claim you. The Cowboys don't want to claim you. The Niners don't want to claim you. No team wants to claim you. No team, no coaches, nobody wants to stand up for Terrell Owens and say how great you were, this and that. They're not. They're going to be lying. And since you know that nobody's going to stand up for you, That's why you said, I'm not going to go to the Hall of Fame. I'm not doing nothing, because nobody's going to stand up for you, because you are a crybaby and you brought it all on yourself. And now you don't have any friends because you cut everybody off. So nobody wants to really mess with you, and nobody wants to vouch for you. So there's nobody that really wants to give a speech for you. So you're going to feel silly and dumb. So that's why you're going to back out of it, because nobody really has your back any longer.
I think as well, as you mentioned, he craves attention, right?
Craves it.
And
craves
I can't think of anyone ever, let alone recent memory, that has literally almost protested their own Hall of Fame induction by sitting out
Nobody
the
has said they weren't going to do that.
And that's the thing, though, because now there's focus on him. And
right, it's in more attention.
You're going to have people mentioning that as the ceremony starts, like, holy cow, he's really not here. Like, this is weird. Like, it's going to have some things about that. The other inductees are going to have to answer questions about that. Not a lot, hopefully, but it's a weird thing that detracts from everyone else's moment, I kind of feel like, and it's really sorry. Like, I don't know what it is. I don't know if he's petty. Like, if he had gotten in on the first ballot, would he have done this? I don't think so, but I don't know. I don't pretend to understand how that dude's mind works. There's no doubt, in terms of individual talent, at his peak, he was about as good a receiver as you would find. But there's also something to be said about how he tore locker rooms apart, and how every team he left, the head coach and the quarterback, were glad he was gone. I mean, there's something to that, even with all the numbers and stuff he put up. I don't understand it at all, man. It's baffling.
It's sad. That's what all I can say is it's sad, because at the end of the day, I don't know. I played sports. I played football. I played basketball. I ran track. I coached it. And I know those type of teammates. And those type of teammates I don't want. I don't care how hard you worked. You're an idiot. And we would not, because you don't have to be. And then it's almost like the reason why you work so hard is because you want the fame of it. It's not that you're just working hard because of the passion. You're working hard because you want the notoriety. You want the fame. You want everybody talking about you. He was always like that from day one. Look at me. Yeah. Look what I'm doing. Me. He's always been like that. And then when people say, yeah, but he's one of the hardest working in the building, I don't care about that, man. You don't have to be a jerk. You can be one of the hardest working people in the building and not be a jerk. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And for real, it just seems like it'd be hard for me if I was maybe I'm on the outside looking in, but it'd just be hard for me to be a friend with him, because you're just a drama person, and I don't want to be around that type of stuff, because it's unnecessary. You don't have to do it. You got graced. You cried about this. That's what pisses me off. Not pisses me off, but it frustrates me, because you cried about this all the damn time on NFL Network. You were going on all the shows. You were going on every show just talking about how you deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. Then when you finally get in there, you boycott it. That's so lame and weak, dude. Like, you was weak.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, there's no real, from a mature stance, there's no real good answer for what he's doing, because he knows it's whack. Like, he knows it's not.
He knows it's wrong.
Yeah, and I don't think he cares. I think he just looks at it from the standpoint of, fine, whatever. Focus is on me.
They're looking at me again.
In his mind, he's making some kind of statement, even though it doesn't really translate as such. But anyway, so that's the TO thing. How about all the talk, and you and I know we're on the same page with this, but all the talk and people speculating about wanting to see a Dez and Dallas reunion?
Hell no. Hell no. I don't want to see Dez back. When I hear people saying they want him back, why? What? I hear Deion Sanders talking like, just because Deion says something doesn't mean like the world should stop because Deion Sanders. Like, a lot of these players get fooled because they feel like they played the game, they played at a high level, they were a Hall of Fame player, and I get all that. You was a beast and a monster, but just because you did that doesn't mean your word just carries weight. And anything you say should automatically happen. No, it doesn't make sense for Dez Bryant to come back. I don't care if they're saying he's better than our receivers now. I don't care about that, and I don't know if that's all the way. Yeah, he probably is because he's been in the league longer, but ain't nobody trying to go after Dez Bryant no more. Nobody's going after him, and the only time he's gonna get a contract now, somebody gets hurt and injured. Why are you gonna go after Dez Bryant? What does he offer? What I mean, let's be honest. What is Dez Bryant if you got him, but besides his name?
Sure. Yeah. So here's the thing. Dallas didn't even offer him a pay cut, right? So in not
they just
doing
cut
that,
him.
Yeah, and Jerry specifically said, "I think that's beneath you. I'm not even going to offer you a pay cut because I think it's an insult to you." So if what you're basically saying is there's no amount of money we want to bring you back for.
Exactly.
So, and you have dead money that you owe to him, cutting him. You still
and
owe him money.
And we just eat it.
Yeah, and it's what I think like $4 million roughly that they owe to him. So why would you have him on the books already for $4 million and then sign him to a new deal and pay him another? I don't know. I mean, Dez isn't coming here for $1 million or $2 million or whatever. Anyone who thinks that he's coming in for like a vet minimum is out of their mind, I think. But it just doesn't make sense, that thinking. Why would you effectively pay him twice when you wouldn't even keep him for one? I think that they really like what they have with their young receivers. And yeah, everyone's ripping their receivers and saying that they have one of the worst, receiving cores in the league. But the thing is, we don't know what they have. All we know is based on previous situation. No one knows what Michael Gallup is. No one knows about Cedric Wilson. Allen Hurns, he's had a really good year in his career, but at the same time, he's never been like the guy. Now he is, for at least the time being, going to have to be that quote-unquote number one receiver. We also have other young guys that haven't had a chance to really do anything yet, like Noah Brown. You don't have to have a top-end receiver to be productive as an offense, especially when your identity is built around running the ball. So let's see what they got. I see no reason to panic and bring Dez back. Dez didn't make this receiving core that much better. For even the people who look at it from the outside in and say Dallas has a horrible receiving core. Well, you did nothing but tell us about how bad Dez was. Not you. You as in the media. National media. Did nothing but tell us how bad Dez has been the past 3 years. So why the hell should we listen to you now when you say, oh, wow, you don't have Dez? Man, you need to go get Dez back. You need to make that right because your receiving core is trash without him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't get it. I understand why they trying to do it. I think it's just because they got nothing else to talk about. So that's a good another media-driven thing where you can talk about something while it's a dead period because it's about to get slow in the NFL again for about a month until training camp starts. They're going to have the mini camp and then training camp, so it's something good to talk about.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, we all know damn well if Stephen Jones cut them, he ain't bringing you back. And after I seen the all or nothing, and just seeing his attitude and seeing how he just acted like he was just better than everybody else. And I know I love Dez as far as his passion for the team. He just felt like he was better than everybody else, and I don't need to study. It just felt like he was kind of like, I don't need to study. I don't need to do this. I'm Dez Bryant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's kind of like you see some players be like, I don't need to do this. You know who I am? You know what I mean? Like, people get like that.
Yep.
So we don't need that, and Dak didn't need that. And I knew, like I said, after I seen that first game after Romo was going the first that first game against the Giants, and I seen that, yeah, this ain't gonna work. You could just see that Dak and Dez were just not gonna work. You could see, and the chemistry. I feel like Dak really tried to make it work with Dez, but I don't really feel like Dak was really feeling Dez. I feel like he did it for the team, but I feel like he's so much more relieved now. He's so much more happier. Now he got young guys. He got his guys. He's got guys that he can mold and put the way he wants because it's his team now. So, and now you get a Gallup who's fresh. You get all these guys that are new and fresh, and Dak can really put them and put it how he wants, and he doesn't have to worry about a guy always being in his ear or crying because he didn't throw him the ball the last 2 times. You get what I'm saying?
Yep.
And if you're a quarterback and you have somebody breathing down your neck and in your ear every 2 seconds, it allows you to play better football. And the stats proved it. When Dez Bryant was out, Dak Prescott played better. Dak Prescott had great numbers when Dez Bryant was out. So it was never a time when Dez was out when Dak was falling off.
Yeah. Shout out Jesse Ortiz in the comments, Italian Cowboy, Unbid Royal. Yeah, so I got people in here saying, Dez will go to a contender. I hope he goes to a contender. I 100% think he will get signed.
I want to play him.
Yeah. I 100% think he will get signed, but at this point, his camp is saying they're not even looking to go anywhere until training camp. Whether that's
because there's nowhere to go.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Whether that's their actual feeling or whether it's just because there's no leads right now, that remains a question. Yeah, so I mentioned this in a video the other day, and I might have mentioned it in our show last week. I can't recall. So Dez tried to get picked up initially when he got cut. He said, okay, you're going to see me twice a year. So he was signaling he's going in the division.
Giants.
Within a couple days, yeah, specifically the Giants. Within a couple days, everyone in the division had pretty much said, nah, we're not interested. Then he started working out with Odell Beckham, tweeting about how, a combination, like a lineup that had him, Saquon Barkley, Eli Manning, Odell Beckham, Brandon Ingram, how just sick that would be. Giants still didn't blink. Their ownership did not blink. Didn't matter that he was posting workout videos with Odell. Didn't matter. Then there's talk heated up about him to Green Bay. And yeah, he'd have to work past putting that history behind him. I think when Witten retired, he even kind of made that point. Like, yeah, I think that'd be a good fit, even though he'd have to put that behind him. Well, then the next day you have Aaron Rodgers come out and say, yeah, well, it doesn't make sense to sign Dez if we cut Jordy. Like, if we sign him, okay, great. I guess we'll work with it, but it doesn't make sense. So then that lead went cold. Then Dez posted on Instagram interest in the 49ers. Then they came out and pretty much said, no, we like our young receivers. We're fine as is. So he deletes the post, and now suddenly we're hearing, yeah, we're looking at training camp. We're not looking to do anything in a rush. And I'm not trying to keep rehashing this. I get that this is kind of played out. The only reason, literally until he's signed somewhere, it feels like it's still at least a footnote for Cowboys topic just because we're his last team right now and how high profile of a player he was considered till recently. I think he'll go somewhere. I still hope the best for him. I hope he can go to a contender and have a chance at a playoff run or, hell, even a Super Bowl. Go live your best life, man. Go do the DWare thing. Go somewhere where you can win a Super Bowl and make Jerry second-guess himself by you balling out in that situation. But
DeMarcus Ware is a whole different story because DeMarcus Ware was never selfish.
True.
And I feel like it's hard. Maybe it's karma or just don't see people who are selfish leaving a team and get rewarded with Super Bowls. I feel like we all felt like when DeMarcus Ware left and went to the Broncos, as much as we hated him leaving Dallas, I think a lot of us were happy he went to the Broncos because that gave him the best opportunity to get a Super Bowl.
Sure.
Because I know when he got that Super Bowl, I was happy as hell for him.
Yeah.
I didn't like that he was gone, but I was happy that he got a Super Bowl because I felt like he deserved one. If I look at Dez Bryant now, from what all I've seen, and I know he's got a good heart, but from what all I've seen, he is selfish. And that's what I think one of the reasons why I got him cut, because it was about him right at that time. And it's got to be about the team right now. And I feel like it's been about him the last few years. And now we don't have that. I feel like it's a more team-oriented focus. I feel like the biggest thing that, Witten, too, I feel like those old guys had to go. And now we got a nice young team. It's Dak's team, Zeke's team, and these guys are ready, I feel like, to take that next step forward because I feel like these guys are leaders.
Yeah, no doubt. And you mentioned DeMarcus Ware earlier. How do you feel about him working with the defensive line through OTAs so far?
Oh, I love it. Anything with DeMarcus Ware coming in on the fold, it makes it good.
Yeah.
DeMarcus Ware was just a guy that, to me, when I watched him, I mean, day one when they drafted him from Troy, I remember, I'll never forget when they were talking about getting him. I went and started watching all his tape when he was playing at University of Troy. I was like, how good is this dude? How good is this dude? And I was like, man, he's pretty nasty. And then I remember I watched him in the preseason games, how he was everywhere, and I was like, this kid's gonna be nasty. And just watching him grow and how he was a dominant figure for a long time for us, and for him to come in and bring in that knowledge. That just gets it exciting because I feel like these guys that are coming back to the program, the training camp, they see it.
Yeah.
They're like, damn, the Cowboys got a nice ass young team. They're 25, 26 average age. They got a lot of nice young players. And I think a lot of the veterans that used to play for Dallas or in past are coming back to give up their knowledge because they see how good of a team we can have. And usually that happens when you see a lot of the vets or anything like that used to play with the Cowboys and they come back. they want to put input because they see you guys could be really good.
Yeah.
And I just want to give a little bit of my knowledge to you because guess what? You guys might be onto something. So let me help you out because I want to see this happen for you too.
Mm-hmm. I love that he's working with, in particular, I mean, yeah, there's wisdom he can impart as well on anyone, even like DeMarcus Lawrence, the guy that we kind of drafted to replace him at the time, even though obviously he didn't get the 94. We didn't christen anyone with that number until Randy Gregory. Hopefully he can get a chance to kind of mentor him as well. But I really like seeing him being able to work with guys like Taco Charlton, just getting a chance to see what, Taco, we feel like he was coming on pretty strong late in the year. Early on in the year, it was not pretty. I am expecting a noticeable step forward for him in year 2. I don't know that he's going to be, anything crazy where you're just like, holy crap, this dude's taking over. He might have a game or something like that, but I think he's going to step forward. You're going to notice him more like you started noticing him at the end of last year. I love DeMarcus Ware working with him because there's so much a guy like that can teach you. Because, someone like that with Ware who had the physical ability and who reached such a dominant level, in part because of just his athletic ability and all that and his hard work, he also then knows about the still being productive through kind of the sort of decline of your career, right? So there's all kinds of wisdom he can impart on a guy, whether it's, if Taco or someone's banged up, like still how to get off the ball quickly and make it, just... There's so much there that you can learn that I'm really intrigued to see what it can translate to for the young guys in particular. And Taco, we felt like early on, oh man, I hated how quickly people started floating the word bust. Just, Cowboy fans in general. I was disappointed too, but that's not to say he was a bust. That just meant he was getting off to a slow start and maybe wouldn't be the quote-unquote word daddy that Jerry Jones had hyped up seeking out. And I still don't know if he'll be that, but he can still be a quality player for us, and that's all you're really looking for. And with someone like DeMarcus Ware instructing him, it's only going to help him. If I'm Dallas, I look to sign Ware to a full-time coaching staff job.
I mean, I would do it as well. I mean, the thing that frustrates me, this is year 1. Yeah. Taco Charlton, you already call him a bust. How's he a bust? And just like, if you listen to the interview with DeMarcus Lawrence, he was saying, first of all, DeMarcus Lawrence was saying Taco Charlton was a left end and he's playing behind me.
Yep.
I had 14.5 sacks, so I'm going to get the majority of the defensive snaps. It's not going to be Taco Charlton in the crucial parts of the games. It's going to be DeMarcus Lawrence. And if they both playing left end, it's going to get him more snaps. So right there, that's where you're not going to get as much time as you were if he wasn't there, okay? So that's where you have to see it. And then during the first part of the year, Rod Marinelli was playing him on the right side. Taco Charlton is a left end. He kept playing him on the right side. If you're playing on the right side, you're going against the left tackles. Most of the left tackles are paying to be good.
Yep.
So you're dealing with some of the best ones. He's not really ready for that right now. But to see him when he started getting more snaps, and he started getting more repetition, 3 sacks. That's not bad. The number 3rd overall selection, Solomon Thomas, had 3 sacks. If you look through the top of the draft board, he was up there with everyone else. Even with T.J. Watt, he had all them sacks, but he played double the snaps. So if you had double the snaps, you had double the sacks. So it kind of equals up. So think about if Taco played the whole year. We don't know what he could have did. He only played less snaps and had 3 sacks. So everybody needs to back up off of him. And he's been in that weight room. He got a lot bigger. If you've seen Taco Charlton, he got a lot bigger from last year. DeMarcus Ware said himself that he looks faster, he looks stronger, and the biggest thing, he looks more confident. And that's what a lot of people were saying, that he looks a lot more confident. He is a lot more confident, and that's going to help. The guy is 6'7", 200. He's almost as big as David Irving as far as the size-wise. So let him grow. Stop calling him a bust, and let's get the best out of Taco Charlton, because that's what we want. We want him to be a monster. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We don't want him to fail. We want him to do good.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Speaking of another defensive end with some high expectations and who thus far hasn't been able to live up to them because of his suspension and everything, Randy Gregory is seeking reinstatement Do we have any kind of update on that? We keep hearing about it, and we keep hearing that all indications look very good for when he does submit, but do we know the status of anything?
No status of right now. I seen an Instagram post where he was talking about what's up with the training. I'm ready to do this. So he's out there working. He's out there training. I feel like he's going to be reinstated. Why wouldn't he? Like I said, if he hasn't failed a drug test since 2016, and he has all these people vouching for him, top NFL people, high society type people that are backing him. And the whole purpose is to get these guys back on track in life. Why wouldn't you reinstate him? It makes no sense to me why you wouldn't, especially if he's done everything he should. So honestly, I think he's going to get reinstated if something crazy like a drug failure. But as long as that's not happening and he comes back in the fold, I think he's going to be I think Randy Gregory's going to be nasty. I think he's just that type of player and that type of athlete that he doesn't have to sit there and play for he's that type that can just sit out a season and come right back in and be a dominant. He's just those players are rare to me, and I think he's a rare type player. That's why when we drafted him, I was so excited because I felt like he was that guy. Yep. That's why I keep on going back to. That's why they gave him 94. They didn't give Dez Bryant 88 because they just thought he was going to be a good player. They thought he was going to be a dog. Mm-hmm. That's why they gave him 88. They thought Randy Gregory was going to be a dog. That's why they gave him 94.
Yo, Law Nation in the house in the chat box here. Salute.
Up there in Cali, going back to Cali.
But, on Randy Gregory, they definitely need him to produce something at this point. They obviously have every high expectation for him, and I think he can still be that player. I'm curious to see how long it takes. I mean, like, how long after he applies for reinstatement, when we actually get to see him in camp on the field. I'm eager to see it, man. I remember before he got his year-long suspension, 2016 playoffs. He comes back from that suspension right before playoffs. I was so excited for him to return because I was thinking, man, one of the problems our defense is having is we're not really able to get at the quarterback. We're bringing back, presumably in terms of talent, one of our best pass rushers right now. He's itching and ready to go. I was all pumped for that in 2016, and then NFL stepped in. It was like, no, he's not playing yet. So then we get the year-long suspension. So yeah, I'm more than eager to see what he's got. People saying that they were impatient for Jalen Smith to get on the field. I see that too, just from his injury. But man, Randy Gregory was like tenfold. It felt like.
Oh my gosh! I mean, that's what I feel right now. Like it's just like the anticipation of it is just like I'm ready to see this guy on the field because I just feel like I know how good he can be. I know how good he can. I just know what he can do. I just know in my heart that I know he's going to be that guy. I know he's going to be that dude that's going to change the whole complexity of our team. And he just needed to get on that field. And I'm just excited that he can finally get on that field. Oh, my gosh. I remember when we first drafted him and he played that first game against the Giants. I was just like, oh, man, this dude is just going to be nasty. And then he got hurt. And it was just like, oh, man, my every year I was just hoping that he would be good and he would be okay and he could get back on that field. And now I feel like it's right there where we can see it, and it's just like, let's make this happen, man, because I'm ready to do this. We have the players, and I mean, we have a lot of depth along the defensive line, even on linebacking core. Even though it doesn't have a lot of name players, we're getting depth back there. Our secondary can be ridiculous, and especially if we hit this supplemental draft and maybe draft one of these guys out there. I've been pushing this Adonis Alexander from Virginia Tech, 6'3" safety. He was a junior, and he was going to be the who's who on the team next year, but he had bad grades, and so he just applied for the supplemental draft. You could snag him. Man, you could give up a pick and snag him. Man, I'm telling you, dog. Chris Richards in the fold. I'm telling you, man, I feel good. It's just really now Jason Garrett. What the hell you gonna do, dog? Because we got the team that can bang with anybody in the NFL. DDP, you can't tell me that the Cowboys can't bang talent-wise with any team in the NFL.
That's interesting too on the supplemental draft and everything. I hadn't even really looked at any kind of prospects from that. But
yeah, they got like 3 good cornerbacks. They got a guy from Western Michigan. Another kid, I can't remember his name. He's like 5'11", 200 pounds. The kid from Western Michigan, I believe, is like 6'1", 190. And they got the Adonis Alexander. These are like the top guys that are,
Yeah.
I think all of them had grade issues, and that's why they went to the supplemental draft. But all of them were going to kind of be top prospects going into the next year's draft. So
Very
if you
nice.
can make something happen like that, and still grab, you can never have too many players. Like you can never have too many linebackers. You can never have too many defensive ends. Never too many corners, safeties, anything like that, because injuries are huge. This is an NFL, and it just takes one play, and it could change the whole scope of your team. You could have a dominant defense, and one dominant player can just really mess up a whole fold. So you got to be able to have that depth, and you got to have that depth that guys that can come in and not just fall off, that your team doesn't just fall off. Much like what happened to us when Romo and Dez got hurt in 2015. When they both got hurt, you saw the Cowboys, the wheels just fell off the train. And we can't continue to happen even in last year when Zeke was gone. We fell off the train. Tyron Smith hurt. We fell off the train. We can't continue to happen, and that can't continue to happen to us as a team, because when you draft players, you have to draft players that are going to be able to step up when those players get hurt, so that it gets just a smooth sailing ride. And that's what we need to continue to keep doing if we want to continue to be competitive.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. Well said. So, for those who have been keeping up with the NFL Top 100 grades, we have. Do we just have the two Cowboys that made the list there? Tyron and DeMarcus Lawrence?
Well, so
Zeke
far
has
we
to be
have
somewhere, 54,
yes,
right?
yeah. Zeke was 54. Zach Martin, I think, was 71. I think Travis Frederick. Hopefully, he's got to be on there because he was a monster safety. I think he was like the #1 greatest safety in the NFL, or #2. So he's got to be in there. So I'm thinking Travis Frederick's going to be in that 20 to 10 range.
Yeah.
That probably might be his highest number. But yeah, we got 4 right now: DeMarcus Lawrence, Zach Martin, Ezekiel Elliott, and Tyron Smith. And to me, it was beastie as Tyron Smith made it at 39, and I don't think he probably, by his standards, he didn't have the greatest year, but the dude is just, he just has the utmost. He's just a monster, man. Like, it doesn't matter if he was hurt a little bit, he's a monster. And then DeMarcus Lawrence definitely deserved to be on there for the year he had. 4th year in, 14.5 sacks. He played really good against the run. And if you really watch that video when they were talking about DeMarcus Lawrence, yeah, I don't really think, just like I compared it with Randy Gregory. Randy Gregory has that bend. He has that bend that you really want on that D end. I don't think DeMarcus Lawrence has that bend. He's one of those more muscle-bound guys. But when you have really good technique and you're really good with your hands, that makes you better. And if you listen to that video, a lot of people are saying he's got really good with his hands. And if you watch DeMarcus Lawrence in his season, his hand play and his hand placement was second to none. I mean, he was doing those rip spin, those rip moves, and they were textbook. And when you have good handwork like that, it'll get you off those offensive linemen. That's how you can get them sacks.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I actually, the NFL Top 100 grade thing always frustrates me. I know it's voted on by the players, but it's never a good equation for these guys. Like Zach Martin, 71. Come on, man. He's
I know he's like the best guard in the league, and he's 71.
Yeah, that's trash.
Ezekiel Elliott, 54.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going off last year's grade, even then that feels like a stretch for Zeke. But to be fair, you missed 6 games. He wasn't super productive out of the gates. That Denver game in particular, with something like 9 carries for 8 yards, or vice versa.
But he still almost had 1,000 yards.
True.
Like, he was right at the door.
True. I'm just saying, like, I can understand his drop off a little bit from last year's top 100 to this, even though 54 still feels too low. A guy like Zach Martin, there's no business him being 71. The dude should be top 20 at least, like as far as guards go. But, you know, it is what it is, and you got some of these grades that are head scratching. Tyron Smith, you mentioned, he came in at 39. Not his strongest year, but you could almost argue his absence certainly was the biggest and most notable one for the Cowboys down the stretch. Him getting only about 3 snaps with Zeke and Dak on the field the final 8 games. His absence was monumental. It's almost like when people joke, like I remember when Peyton Manning was still with Indianapolis and he had neck surgery and missed the whole year. Indianapolis goes from a 10, 12-win team, whatever, to a 1-win team and gets the first pick, and people are joking, Peyton might should get the MVP because clearly he was the most valuable player. Same kind of thing here for the
But nobody wants to see, and that's the funny thing is that, Peyton Manning gets hurt, and they're like, you see how important he was to the team. Tyron Smith gets hurt, and they're like, oh, that's just an excuse for Dak.
Yeah.
It's just the hate for the hate for Dak Prescott is, and I posted it on my page this week because I'm really frustrated with our fan base with that. I'm really getting tired of it, honestly, with our fan base, how they, continue to bash this kid. And his numbers don't speak bashing his leadership. He's been out of trouble. He's did nothing but do what the Cowboys wanted him to do, and yet we're still using, he only can throw 5-yard passes. He's not accurate. Well, I'm looking at the NFL, and the norm is around 64 to 65 completion percentage, and that's what he is at his career.
Yep.
So how is he not an accurate? He just dumps it off. So I posted some videos where he's throwing deep balls. He even said himself he has to work on his footwork. But at the end of the day, we have a. And then when you have Bucky Brooks, did you hear what he said?
No, I did not catch him. What did he say?
Okay, well, they have that move the sticks with him and Daniel Jeremiah.
Yes.
Bucky Brooks, Daniel Jeremiah asked him, you have one quarterback under 30 that you can roll your team with for the next 10 years. Who is it going to be? He said Dak Prescott.
Just from a leadership standpoint and all that.
He just said that he's the guy. He said that if you look at his numbers, like he said, 45 touchdowns, only 17 interceptions. A winning quarterback, 22-10, has done everything he was supposed to do since he's been there, and he feels like now, and he stressed that now Dez and Witten being gone, he said now you're going to really see him shine, and I feel like that's going to happen too. I feel like it hurt last year with Dez because he always had to force the ball to him and Witten. And I feel like now he's going to be more free to be able to throw it to who he wants to because it's his squad. And that makes a hell of a difference when you're a player and it's your team now.
Yeah, no doubt. And, another thing with Dak not getting the appreciation and everything that he, has earned, really. You shared my article I wrote the other day, I think it was about a week ago, the Numbers Crunch segment, where I broke down Dak Prescott.
That was good as hell, too.
Yeah, thank you. I spent a lot of time compiling all that, figuring out all the averages for all these noteworthy QBs through their first 2 seasons. So the segment, not segment, it was an article. The article is called Numbers Crunch, How Dak Prescott Rates Through 2 Seasons versus Other Notable QBs. Now, on this list, I basically took your basic stats for QBs. For Dak, first of all, from last year, I took his first 8 games, compared it against his final 8 games. You see the drop-off. It gives you the context that we touched on before about how he only had Tyron and Zeke on the field for a total of 3 snaps over those final 8 games. And so you're basically losing your best protection, your best blindside protection guy, and then your all-pro running back that, went for, 1,700 yards as a rookie.
Right.
So losing him. Then I basically flipped it where I said, okay, now before I even start going into these other comparisons, here's Dak through his first 25 games. So his first season and a half plus the 1 playoff game versus his final 8 games. And it's basically breaking down the numbers to show you how, I get it. 8 games, that is a long enough stretch to say that that's a rut that you're in. It's not just like a 2-game thing where it's just like, it's a little funk. But, man, don't cast aside 25 games in favor of 8 when there hasn't been some kind of injury or major thing to change that. So, go on.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Okay. So in the piece, I broke down one of the most annoying comparisons first that I see a lot. Blake Bortles. That one's laughable. If we look through the first 2 years of Blake Bortles and Dak, it's not even close. Dak has him beat on... Now, Blake's got him edged on yards, but only by about 400.
But it's completion percentage, though.
58.7 compared to 65.2.
That's a huge difference.
Oh, it is. Touchdowns, passing touchdowns, 45 for Dak, 46 for Blake. Interceptions, 17 for Dak, 35 for Blake. And if you add in rushing touchdowns, Dak's number is actually 57 touchdowns, whereas Blake's is 47 or 48 off the top of my head. So,
and Blake Bortles just got a new contract.
Yes, and it was like 5 for 57 or something to that effect. It wasn't anything. 5 years is a long time to commit to Blake Bortles, but it wasn't anything crazy in terms of money. And then I broke down the last 2 seasons of Blake for those who act like he's a late bloomer. His numbers weren't really that different compared to his first 2 seasons, other than the win-loss. That's just because he has a running game and a defense last year.
Right.
Gives you
and
Carson,
a good coaching staff.
Exactly. It also gives you the comparison with Carson Wentz, who I think is a very good comparison for Dak, just because obviously them both coming into the league at the same time, within the same division, going head-to-head, and basically having 2 full years for the most part. Obviously, Wentz missed the last couple games of the regular season last year with his ACL, but those numbers even stack up the same. Marcus Mariota, Cam Newton's one of the few guys on the list who his stats pretty well put Dak aside. But unless you go like elite class, like an Aaron Rodgers, or
but look at this though, DDP.
Yep.
Look at Cam Newton's numbers his whole career. I don't think he's had over 65 completion percentage, maybe just one time, and that was the year that they went to the Super Bowl.
Correct.
Other than that, he's been a career like 57, 58 completion percentage, and nobody says that about him.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody is dogging him. Marcus Mariota, like I said, his numbers were terrible last year, but since they got to the playoffs, he gets a pass.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense how they're disrespecting like what he's done. Like, he wasn't terrible last year. He was not terrible.
No.
His numbers, like, you know what I mean? And people act like he fell off the planet last year, and he did not.
Right.
Other quarterbacks were so much worse than him, and yet they don't get the bullets that he was getting. And like I said, I like Dak, and I'm going to keep backing him because I feel like he's the guy that when we drafted him, I was excited because I felt like more than his passing or anything like that, his leadership, that I feel like goes a long way. And I feel like he did have attributes as far as the physical side, but his leadership stood huge to me. And when you have a leader like that can will you to win games, mm-hmm. and your team follows you, they don't make you a captain for a reason. Not in the not within the confines of that locker room. They don't do that for media or, oh, we're just going to make you captain. They don't do that. They make captains who are captains. Like, they vote. You deserve to be a captain because I look up to you. Yeah. And it's 2 straight freaking years.
Yeah. So, yeah, Cam Newton, as you said, obvious. He's got Dak beat comfortably in terms of, like, passing yards and yards per game. But as far as completion percentage, he's comfortably behind.
Terrible.
Yeah, he's 58.8 through his first 2 years. Again, Dak 65.2. Really, the only guys on this list, and I compiled a hefty list. You read the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Also had like Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Matt Ryan, and Tony Romo. The only 2 guys who really blew Dak out of the water were Aaron Rodgers and Tony Romo. And what do we know about them? They both sat for 2 years at least before they had to take over. And in both cases, they had pretty good offenses they got to walk right into as well. Now, that's not to say that Dak had a bad one. I think they both sat 3
years. I think they both sat 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, Aaron Rodgers had, I think, a couple fill-in games in year 2 for Brett, but nothing – I mean, like, games where Brett got knocked out after a quarter or something. It didn't break his streak. But, yeah, to your point, it was in both cases, 2 guys who sat for 2 to 3 years are the only ones who really blew him out of the water. I mean, what shocked me looking through this was him compared to, like, Drew Brees, right? Drew Brees is, like, considered, like, the quintessential assassin as far as a passer. His first 2 seasons, granted, when he came into the league, it was a little bit different. We weren't the same passing offense that we are now. But things like his completion percentage, 59.5%, that has nothing to do with whether or not it's a pass-dominant league yet. Yeah. 28,
that's bad.
Yeah, 28 touchdowns to 31 interceptions. Like,
that's terrible.
Yeah, and
I remember when Breeze went to San Diego, and that's why they drafted Phillip Rivers.
Yeah, exactly. Not even 200 passing yards a game for Drew Brees in his first 2 years, and yet for Dak in those final 8 games, I think he was averaging 188. People wanted to kill him for that. That's just an 8-game stretch. If you look at the season overall, he was still over 200 at least. So it's just one of those things, man. Like, Tom Brady's about the same thing. His completion percentage is comparable, 62.8%. But people don't like to talk about how at the start of Tom Brady's career, he really kind of was a dink and dunk guy. The thing that people like to put on Dak.
See, here's the thing about Tom Brady. Everybody acts like he's a guy that was throwing downfield. He was never a guy that was throwing downfield. He threw downfield when Randy Moss got on the team. When Randy Moss came on the team, then he was throwing them bombs. Now, I'm not saying he can't, because Brady can wing it, but he was never a guy that was winging it in that offense, because they never had guys that were really doing that. When you get a Randy Moss, I guarantee you, if Randy Moss, a young Randy Moss, was on the team with Dak Prescott, I guarantee you Dak Prescott's going to throw bombs, because all you have to do is go up there and get it, because that's you have a Randy Moss. We didn't have that. We had Dez Bryant, who can't beat people deep. We had Bryce Butler, who can beat people deep, but you don't play him.
Right.
You play Terrence Williams and Beasley and all those guys, and you're not playing guys who can stretch the field. Or you got Rico Gathers, who supposedly is good from a concussion, and you don't play him. You know what I'm saying? You keep playing Witten, and you keep playing Jeff Swain. Those guys don't stretch the field. So what the hell do you think? So what the hell do you think Dak is going to do? You think he's going to throw deep when he don't have no deep threats? We don't have nothing but dink and dunk receivers. So you have to play a dink and dunk game. We didn't have that in 2016. That's why he averaged 8 yards per pass. And when we had guys that weren't stretching the field and weren't making plays, then you're going to throw for 6.8 yards a game.
Yeah. Completion rate. Oh, man. So, yeah, I got a Italian Cowboy in here in the chat asking for a couple people as well that actually aren't on the list, like a Jameis Winston. Paxton Lynch, man, I don't even have enough data on that.
Don't even bring in no Paxton Lynch. But if you go with the numbers with Jameis Winston, at the end of the day, you're going to look at Jameis Winston as throws a lot of yards, but throws a lot of interceptions, just what his thing was in college. He was a high INT guy, and that's what he was going to be in the pros. And as I said, he ain't the leader that Dak Prescott is. No way in no hell he is not the leader that Dak Prescott is. So I'm going to take Dak Prescott over Jameis Winston all day. I don't care if Winston can throw for 4,500 yards. Is he winning them damn games? Is he making that team better? Is he going to get the team over the hump? No, I don't believe he is. I trust Dak Prescott to be able to do that, and I don't need my quarterback to throw 4,500 yards to get us to where we need to go when we got Ezekiel Elliott. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers don't have Ezekiel Elliott. We do.
How about last name I'll throw out here on the list? How about Matty Ice? How would you think he stacks up with Dak?
I mean, I would think Matty Ice had pretty good numbers his first couple of years. I remember when he came in the league, he was, but Matty Ice, the knock on Matty Ice was that he didn't have a big arm. They said he was a big quarterback, but they said Matt Ryan never had a big arm, but he was one of those technician guys. He can technically kill you, hit you with those 8 or 9 or 10-yard passes. That's where he was going to kill you. So even now,
you want a fun spoiler for that?
Tell me.
Loses to Dak in every category I detailed.
Wow.
Games.
First 2 years?
Yep, first 2 years. Win-loss, yards per game, completion percentage, touchdowns, and interceptions. In every category, he's lesser than Dak through 2 years. So
you know what? Really, we need to really repost that article again, dog. Because
I just posted it here right before I started talking about it.
We need to keep reposting that. That's a repost, because it just that just goes to show, man. Like, really, and y'all are dogging this dude. You go from 8 yards a pass play to 6.8, and your career average is over 7. That's still in the NFL average, if not higher. You know what I'm saying? So it's amazing to me. You had 68 completion percentage your first year, 62 your next year, and they're saying you're not accurate.
That was considered your fall off. Yeah, that's considered your fall off.
And that 62 completion percentage is falling off, and now you're not accurate. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Cowboys fans. I can understand. I'm gonna keep it real. I love my Cowboys, but when I hear people saying Cowboys fans are the worst, it could probably be right. We're either spoiled. I don't get it. We've been crying, DDP, for having a quarterback to succeed, Bromo.
Yep.
We've been waiting for that forever. Then we finally get it, and now we bash them.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling. And as I started doing the piece, I knew I had a pretty good idea that his numbers were going to be better than a lot of the guys I looked at. But some of the guys I was really surprised by. And again, these are the first 2 years of Dak versus the first 2 years of these guys. It's not the last 2 years, although in the case of like Marcus Mariota, that'd be an interesting one to look at. I pulled up Blake Bortles.
Yeah, he threw only 14 touchdowns and like 20 some interceptions last year, I think.
Yep. So I think the only guy I looked at their last 2 years was Blake Bortles, just because I was so offended by that comparison that I was like, here's his first 2 years and how trash he is compared to Dak. Here's his last 2 years where you claim that they're equal and he's still not as good as Dak. So it's one of those things, man. Like it's a sample size, but yeah, it's
really like DDP. Really, if they had an option, Blake Bortles or Dak Prescott, really?
Yeah, it's not even close for me.
It's not close.
No. I mean, Dak,
it's not even close.
Yeah, and that's not to say that Dak doesn't have things he needs to work on. He does. He needs to work on his general accuracy and deep ball. But the people who act like he hasn't been productive, it's frustrating to me how people want to chop him down and not acknowledge the other issues for the team last year that went well beyond him. He didn't help things after the Atlanta game, but I think that's the first time that I've actually, really the only time I've seen him just be shook after a game where he suddenly just lost all faith in his offensive line and you saw him with happy feet in the pocket for the next few weeks. Other than that, I think Dak has been pretty rock solid for the Cowboys. Certainly, out of a 2-year starter, let alone a 4th-round pick, he's been beyond anything you could have hoped for him to be. Wouldn't you say that's fair?
That's very fair because remember, he wasn't supposed to play his first 2 years. He was supposed to sit behind Romo. They felt he was a project.
Yeah, if he became the starter ever, that would have been considered some kind of decent pick.
They weren't looking at him. He was behind Kellen Moore his first year. After Romo got hurt, he wasn't second string. Kellen Moore was.
Yep.
Kellen Moore had to break his stuff, and then Dak come in. Like, people, are y'all serious? Like, both of our top guys go out, and then this guy comes in, plays lights out, comes back after a year or two, and has a little bit of drop off, but the whole damn team did, and he still is a winner, and you're dogging him. I hope he just DDP. I hope he just shows out this year. I hope he just. Oh my God, I want him to kill it this year because I'm keeping it real. I remember all the names that were dogging him and running their mouth, especially been on my page and everything else. And man, I'm telling you, when we do our games this year, and I see them people saying Dak Prescott, I'm like, hell no, don't you say nothing about him.
Yep.
You shut the hell up about Dak Prescott. Yep. I don't want to hear no words from him for you.
I'm looking really forward to this season, man. I think
it's gonna be good this year.
Yeah.
I get more and more confident.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not expecting Dak to put up monster numbers. I think we're going to see kind of what we saw. I'd say more to his first 25 games, where he was putting up efficient numbers that added up big over the course of the season. I don't think he's going to have monster numbers in a game because I think our run game is going to be so dominant again this year. Zeke back and focused. You've upgraded the offensive line. I think it's going to be as good.
We're going to be nasty, dog. I'm getting excited.
Yeah. The offensive line is going to be as good, if not better, than 2016. Now, maybe it'll be 2 years from now when it's better than 2016 because you got to give maybe Connor Williams. Defense. Yeah, that's what I was just about to get to. Is I'm excited because it feels like the first time in I don't know how long that we feel like we have a defense, that we feel like we have guys that can actually take the ball away.
Yes.
It's been an eternity, man. I'm so ready to see this team actually create turnovers, and I'm excited about just what Chris Richard can bring to the secondary. We have all these guys that we're told that they're ball hawks, that they can take the ball away. We haven't seen it yet, so I want to see what kind of impact he can have, and I think part of it, moving Byron Jones back to corner, is going to be one of the bigger moves when we look back at the season, like why the defense does better and why we generate more interceptions. I think we're going to look back at that move and say that was one of the pivotal moves.
Yeah, I mean, I think the pivotal move was getting Chris Richard in the fold. And not just him, the Alexander guy on the line, Sanjay Lal for the receiving core, Ben Bloom on the linebacker staff. I just feel Mark Colombo moving up when helping with the offensive line. I just feel like they really did good with the assistant coaching staff. And I think that's what really is going to take us over the hump because when you get good coaching, you get good playing.
Yeah.
You can always have good players, great players, but you got to have that good coaching with it. And I feel like that's really going to get us over the hump. And, I'm excited because, just like you said with the defense, it's the first time I can actually feel like I feel good about our defense. Like, I actually feel like our defense can stop teams now. Like, for so long, I've always like, oh, here we go again. We got a 14-point lead. We're about to lose it. And, first time I feel like, I think we have the guys that can really lock people and shut people down. And that's what Dallas fans have been waiting for so long. I mean, we haven't seen that since damn near freaking 90s. I don't care. I mean, even our 07 team when we got bounced out and they had all those all pros on the defense. We had 13 Pro Bowlers that year, but it still didn't feel like that was a dominant defense.
Yeah.
You can see it, feel it, like it's kind of brewing right now. With Randy Gregory coming back, and it's like they're all coming back at the right times. Yeah. You get what I mean? Like when you want to build something good, Randy Gregory is coming back at the right time. If there's any time for you to come off suspension with this young team, this is the time to do it.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Oh, man. So was there any other topics or anything you wanted to touch on real quick? We've hit just over an hour now, so can probably go into the wrap-up unless you got something that comes to mind. I think I hit everything on our run sheet from earlier.
Not really too much. Just, the big ho-hum has been about Jalen Smith looking real good in OTAs. He hasn't been using the brace at the whole time. I think that's huge. He used the brace all last year, and he's not using it this year. Mm-hmm. That's huge in my eyes. Van Der Esch had the little ankle injury. Yep. But no, nothing really. I think I'm just really excited to get to the training camp. Yeah. Because everybody looks good in pad, and without pads, everybody looks great.
Sure.
I'm just really the stories that I'm really looking for headed toward training camp is the receiving core. Who's going to step up? Cedric Wilson, the unknown, like who's going to take that X role? Who's going to be the man out there? Tight end position, like who's going to be the starter? We're hearing so many guys with Blake Jarwin, Rico guys, is he going to step up? It's just a lot of unknowns, but it's a good unknowns. I think that's what I'm excited about. It's a lot of unknowns, but it's a good unknown. You know what I mean, DDP? Yeah. Like, it's a good unknown with the secondary because we got so much talent. It's a good unknown on that defensive line because we got so much depth. It's a good unknown with these receivers because we're young and youthful again. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So that's what the exciting part is. And also Connor Williams, I've been looking at him starting from day one, putting him in the first team from day one. I think is going to be huge because that's just going to solidify our line, get it well oiled. I think Zeke is going to have a freaking monster year, and I think Dak Prescott's going to be balling. I can't wait to bang against, Houston Texans when we go against Deshaun Watson. I can't wait till we bang against Tennessee. I will be at that game. Matter of fact, live on the field. I'll be at that game, that Tennessee game. I can't wait to see Marcus Mariota against Dak Prescott. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I can't wait to see Cam Newton against Dak Prescott. I just think Dak is ready for that challenge. I think he's looking in that paper too. Like, I'm going against these young guys, and I want to let all these. I think he's ready to shut everybody up. Like, you know what? Y'all been doubting me, and everybody's been doubting me my whole career, and I've continued to shut everybody up. It's just one more trial. I'm gonna do it again too.
Yeah, man. Cool. Well, before we roll out of here, James, tell them where they can find you and Silver and Blue.
Well, you can check us out, Silver and Blue Nation, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. We air every Sunday, around 3:30 to 5. Make sure you can check us out. So go on the Silver and Blue Nation page when you're watching so we can get all the good comments on there. I got my own page, Big Game James page, but it kind of coincides with the Silver and Blue. Yeah, I just always go live on there, but you can check me out. Things will be coming in the works for me with a YouTube page very soon. I've been saying it for a while, but now I'm finally getting things together to where I can make that pop. So make sure you tune in for Big Game James. It's going to be a lot of bigger and better things, more writings, more everything, more involvement, because I feel like I got to take another step forward. Last year was my rookie year in the media field. Year 2, you got to be better. So I'm just trying to give out the best product, and me working with you, Silver